Tonight on To The Point.
Direct democracy is no longer alive and well in California.
A controversial decision. California voters lose the chance to approve tax hikes at the polls. Plus, the FBI raids the home of the mayor of Oakland. What we're learning about the investigation.
More haze and smoke in the forecast. How long it's expected to last.
And later, an urgent warning about some diabetes and weight loss drugs.
You never want to buy a medication off of social media.
How you can tell if the product you're using is dangerous.
I hope you're having a good day. Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell, and we have a lot of news to get to, including a major ruling today by the California Supreme Court that blocked a ballot measure that could have upended the way the government works. But first tonight, we want to get to some updates in several wildfires that we're tracking. We start tonight in Yuba County, where evacuation orders are in effect near Brownsville because of the double fire. Evacuation zones include Wildcat Trail and Double Eagle Way. A temporary evacuation point is located at Sycamore Ranch off Highway 20, and CAL FIRE says they are battling some difficult terrain. Right now, it's burned about 11 acres. In Calaveras County, most people are back in their homes tonight in Copperopolis as containment grows on the Arrow Fire. This fire has been burning along Rock Creek Road and Highway 4. CAL FIRE says it's burned about 5,400 acres and is 58% contained. Evacuation orders remain in effect for parts of Calaveras County. And we are also tracking the Sites fire in Colusa County. It's burning near Sites Ladoga Road and Wilson Creek. CAL FIRE says it's burned more than 19,000 acres and is 20% contained. Evacuation orders remain in effect there as well for parts of Leesville, Antelope Valley Ranch, and Sites. And you can track all the updates to these fires right now. Just head to our website, abc10.com. All right, a measure that could have made it harder to raise taxes in California is now off the November ballot. That's after a California Supreme Court decision released today. ABC 10's Becca Habegger shows us what the ballot measure aimed to do and why this Supreme Court decision is so controversial.
The so-called Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act would have changed the state constitution to say, in part, any tax increase passed by state lawmakers must also be approved by voters. And it would have required all local tax increases to be approved by 2/3 of voters instead of just a simple majority vote.
Empower you to have the right to vote on all new state and local taxes in the future.
Democrats, including Governor Newsom, opposed the measure, saying the change would have upended the way government works. On Thursday, the California Supreme Court justices unanimously sided with opponents and removed it from November's ballot.
Direct democracy is no longer alive and well in California.
Advocates of the now removed ballot measure point out the California Secretary of State approved the measure for the November 2024 ballot more than a year ago, after it garnered more than 1 million valid signatures of California voters.
That is today who we are frustrated and disappointed for.
In a statement, Democratic Speaker of the Assembly Robert Rivas said in part, "I'm very pleased the California Supreme Court rejected this unlawful and extreme effort to take power away from local communities to pay for essential services like police and firefighters." California Supreme Court justices said, while citizen-initiated ballot measures to amend the state constitution are okay, this one goes so far as to propose a revision, which requires more layers of approval. Justices say it is within the people's prerogative to make these changes, but such a revision would require the calling of a constitutional convention, and that is considerably more difficult. It takes 2/3 approval of both the Assembly and the State Senate, followed by a majority of voters, followed by the results of the Constitutional Convention itself.
We know that the governor and the legislature are happy with this ruling, but I'll tell you who else is very happy with this. Governor DeSantis and Governor Abbott are probably very happy with this. You know, just another example of how California is so hostile to taxpayers and businesses.
In response to Thursday's state Supreme Court decision, Governor Newsom said he believes the initiative process is a sacred part of our democracy, but as the court's decision affirmed today, that process does not allow for an illegal constitutional revision.
This, for us, is just a battle in the bigger war. We will be back.
All right, let's bring in Becca, who's been following this for us. Now, removing a measure from the ballot before the election, rare but not unheard of, right?
Right, and it's been a while. You know, the Supreme Court did this in 1999. It was a ballot measure that would have cut lawmakers' salaries and removed lawmakers' authority to set boundaries for legislative districts. In that case, those justices removed the measure because they said it included more than one subject.
All right, Becca, thanks for the update. We appreciate it. All right, in other news tonight, at least 4 people were hurt overnight as gunfire erupted at a Juneteenth event on Lake Merritt. Police say more than 5,000 people were there in the area for an event. They say the event was peaceful until about 8:15 when an illegal sideshow occurred nearby. Officers say a short time later, a fight broke out and multiple shots were fired. Officers located several victims who were shot. No arrests have been made yet, though. Meantime, neighbors in North Sacramento are cleaning up after a fire burned through a neighborhood in Rio Linda. It happened around 7:30 yesterday along Main Avenue. At least 15 cars and 1 home was damaged. Sacramento Fire says the crews were dispatched to a vegetation fire that escalated, and they say due to the distance from the hydrants, crews had difficulties getting water on that fire. In total, about 5 acres of land was burned, and it's still unclear what sparked that fire. New details tonight in a story that we just brought you yesterday about a community fed up with alleged squatters returning to a burned out house. The house along Country Run Way in Antelope originally burned back in April, but neighbors tell ABC 10 over the past 2 weeks, homeless and squatters have returned and they do not feel safe. Well, today we heard from Sacramento County. They say that code enforcement is working with the sheriff's office, the property owner, and the owner's insurance company on this situation. The property owner was contacted yesterday and was told to board up that burned out home. We are told code enforcement will be at the home tomorrow to follow up and will board up the home themselves if the owner doesn't do it. Happening now in Stanislaus County, people are sharing their concerns about housing sexually violent predators in their community. ABC 10's Garshpal Sangha is at the town hall meeting tonight and has more on what's at stake.
Alex, a public town hall is happening right now, and like we've seen with other counties in the region pushing back against sexual violent predators being placed in their community, the community of Turlock is doing the same thing, and they're protesting 2 men convicted of sexually violent crimes could be released near Turlock. Today, residents and leaders are hosting a town hall meeting over the release of 72-year-old Kevin Gray, who was convicted of molesting 4 girls between the ages of 8 to 11 in Wyoming, Los Angeles, and Stanislaus counties. And the Stanislaus County District Attorney's Office says 61-year-old Timothy Weathers was convicted of molesting a child in San Diego County. And while on probation for that case, the DA's office says Weathers was convicted of molesting 2 different boys in Stanislaus County. People voicing their concerns, saying this is not the right location.
It was very disheartening to know that we are fighting something that our taxpayer money is going to fund.
I would like people to know that it's about bringing awareness. It's about using your voice to advocate for what's right for your community and just getting all the information and facts and allowing the process to work.
And we will have much more on this story tonight at 11 and why some community members say the proposed relocation site violates some of the rules set in place. Reporting in Stanislaus County, Garshpal Sangha, ABC 10.
Still ahead onto the point, the FBI raids the home of the Oakland mayor. What we're learning about the investigation and the connection to other homes raided today.
Temperatures near average in the upper 80s and low 90s out there, but a big heat up is on the way. How high temperatures will get this weekend.
And later, an urgent warning against some diabetes and weight loss drugs.
When it comes to buying any medication, you're trying to find it, especially if it's in short supply. If it seems too good to be true, it is.
Coming up, how you can tell if a product is real or fake. All right, our weather is going to be changing up a little bit. Hope you enjoyed today because it's going to get hot. We're going to be really hot this weekend.
We are. We're increasing just tomorrow, 10 to 15 degrees. Ooh. And then on top of that, Saturday, we'll be bumping it up another 5 degrees Saturday from Friday's temperature. A heat advisory does take effect on Saturday at 11 a.m. And depending on where you are, you could see it as late as 10 p.m. For the valley spots around 8 p.m. Further south, they'll be extending some of that even into portions of Sunday. into Redding, all the way down to the Grapevine. We're seeing a heat advisory. Areas of Southern California, they'll be dealing with excessive heat watch in effect through Sunday night for areas of the San Gabriel Mountains into Santa Barbara County and Ventura. So very hot temperatures expected there as well. And even further down south, we'll be seeing areas like Irvine all the way down to Temecula, Palm Springs, also looking at a heat advisory in effect through Sunday. Now, this week, we're looking at moderate heat risk mostly, but as we get into Saturday, that's where it becomes major. Please be careful. And, upper 90s, it's very similar in temperature, but still keep in mind that you want to limit time outside, especially outdoor activities with the kids. Make sure they're getting enough breaks in between, hydration as well. And next week, mid-90s are expected to even upper 90s, so it's still going to be sticking around with the 90-degree temperatures through next week. Wildfire smoke is moving back and forth across Northern California as we continue to get that influx of the Delta breeze and then kind of pushing offshore as well into the overnight hours. A heat advisory Saturday at the 100-degree temperatures, but gusty onshore winds could lead to more fire danger. Right now, we've been tracking the Sites Fire. This is the one that's been bringing in a lot of that smoke and haze toward our valley spots, which will continue to do so as we move again through tonight, pushing it into the foothills, clearing out the valley. And then as we start getting into tomorrow, we're seeing it more widespread further south. So keep that in mind. That's where it's burning. But most of that haze will continue around the afternoon, evening hours to spread from Sacramento toward areas around Modesto. And then again, shifting its way east and north again through those overnight hours. Temperatures in the foothills for tomorrow, those mid-90s, overnight lows, mid-50s, not too bad, but 98 degrees in Ione. And then if you're headed toward the Bay Area, you're looking at mid-60s. San Francisco with 72 in Oakland, 96 in Vacaville. Temperatures at 103 expected Saturday, and then we continue with those mid-90s through next week.
Next on To the Point, FBI agents raid several Oakland homes, including the Oakland mayor. What we're learning about the investigation. Plus, the Supreme Court still to decide more than a dozen cases this summer. What's on the line? And later, a warning about some popular diabetes and weight loss drugs. How to know if your medication is safe. Tonight, we have some new details about the FBI's raid of several homes in Oakland, including the Oakland mayor. The FBI confirmed that they carried out a court-authorized law enforcement activity at the mayor's home, but that was not the only stop for agents. Dan Noyes has more from Oakland tonight.
More than a dozen FBI agents emerged from Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao's house after 4 hours inside. They carried boxes, plastic tubs, and trash bags and left without comment. Witnesses heard a ruckus before 6 a.m. today.
About 6 o'clock this morning, I heard a male voice yelling to open the door, open the door.
Nina Medina happened to be staying in the neighborhood with friends. She's president of the National Latino Peace Officers Association, here for a meeting with the new Oakland police chief.
The federal government doesn't force or obtain warrants into one's residence without probable cause. And when it rises, in my experience, to the level of the federal government, you're talking about some significant issues.
Once the FBI left, I went to Tao's door to check reports that had been kicked in or rammed through. There was no damage to the door or sill. Later, Mayor Tao's partner and father of her 2 children, Andre Jones, emerged with a bag and refused to comment before he left. Law enforcement sources tell me this is a public corruption case with the FBI, IRS, and U.S. Postal Service working together. Agents hit several locations, including the offices of California Waste Solutions. We spotted IRS investigators there. The company was started by David and Victor Duong, who were under investigation by the Public Ethics Commission for funneling money through straw donors to council members, a story first reported by Oakland Side in 2020. Sheng Tao allegedly received some of that money. She also traveled with the Duong brothers who funded the trade mission to Vietnam last summer.
And it has been a tough week for Mayor Tao as a recall for her position is also being approved for a vote. Her office has not released any sort of comment in the matter. The Supreme Court releasing rulings today in 4 cases, the biggest of which upholds a Trump-era tax provision on offshore earnings. Still undecided are 2 cases related to the former president. One asks whether he or any former president has immunity from prosecution for official acts while in office. The case stems from Trump's sweeping claim of absolute immunity from any criminal prosecution for his efforts to overturn the 2020 election. The other Trump-related case asks if hundreds of people who stormed the Capitol on January 6th were improperly charged with obstruction because the law prosecutors used was written for business and financial crimes. Also still in front of the Supreme Court is abortion access protected when a woman's health is at risk. The case out of Idaho asks whether doctors can perform abortions in a medical emergency. And finally, another decision still to be weighed is whether cities can legally ban or limit unhoused people from sleeping on the streets. The case originating from the Oregon city of Grants Pass limited how much cities in western states could criminalize those who sleep on the streets when there aren't enough shelter spaces available. A decision in this case is expected next Thursday. Meanwhile, legal challenges are expected in Louisiana after the state passed a law requiring a display of the 10 Commandments in every public school. Opponents were quick to challenge the law's constitutionality with the separation of church and state. Proponents argue this is not solely religious and has historical significance in the classroom, and previous efforts to require the 10 Commandments to be displayed in public schools have been shut down by the Supreme Court. Film and television star Donald Sutherland has died at the age of 88. His son confirmed his father's death today on social media. The Canadian actor's career included offbeat characters like Hawkeye Pierce in the movie MASH and the Stone Professor in Animal House. He did receive an honorary Oscar back in 2017. And now to an urgent warning about a popular weight loss drug. Pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly is warning people about versions of weight loss and diabetes medications, Mounjaro and Zepbound, that are compounded or fake. So here's what you should look out for.
The urgent warning against some diabetes and weight loss drugs.
When it comes to buying any medication, you're trying to find it, especially if it's in short supply. If it seems too good to be true, it is.
Pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly writing an open letter and warning users that compounded or fake versions of their weight loss and diabetes drugs, Mounjaro and Zepbound, are being sold. Eli Lilly additionally announcing that they will sue wellness centers and med spas advertising the knockoff versions. The company behind Ozempic and Wegovy, Novo Nordisk, also suing places who they believe are selling counterfeit versions of the drug.
You also want to make sure that you're getting any medications from a board-certified healthcare professional, that you're only getting these from state licensed pharmacies, or if you're going to use an outside facility, or if your doctor is going to, that's registered with the FDA.
The potential risks for taking a fake or compounded version are high. Eli Lilly says they have tested compounded versions of their drugs and have seen issues related to safety and efficacy, and some of those products have bacteria. In one case, they said the product was simply sugar and alcohol. The company releasing tips for how to spot real versus fake. Take a look at these photos. Note the color and logo. Real versions of Zepbound and Mounjaro have purple injection buttons. The base caps are this shade of gray. Their medication names have federally trademarked logos and the Eli Lilly logo. They also say they do not sell their products on social media.
You never want to buy a medication off of social media.
Be careful. Pay attention to what you're buying. The FDA says that much of the counterfeits are driven by a major shortage of these drugs, and this is a big reason why Eli Lilly stresses that they should not be used for weight loss that is cosmetic. And on to the point, you already know we are always working to take stories further and to bring you more context and information to issues that are impacting you and your family, which is why we are looking into these new weight management drugs, Wegovy, Zepbound, semaglutide. You probably heard several names. The demand for the new drug treatment is high, but as with all drugs, everyone's bodies react very differently. So our team is looking to talk with people who have tried Wegovy, Zepbound, or semaglutide specifically for weight management. We'd like to hear if these weight management injections worked for you. Did you experience any side effects? And did you stop taking it? And what's been the financial cost? You can share your story with us by emailing our team at tothepoint@abc10.com. All right, coming up on the other side of the break, the bear population has surged in California. What's behind the growing numbers? All right, over the past couple months, we've seen the videos, bears running across ski slopes, hiding under the decks in the Sierra. And the animals didn't just get our attention, it also got the states, who wondered, are there actually more bears in California? Well, right now, California Fish and Wildlife estimates 60,000 bears in the state, almost triple the last count back in the 1990s. But that doesn't mean that there are more bears, just better technology for tracking the bears. And while more interactions between bears and humans have been reported, the data shows rarely is there a conflict.
In some cases, growing up, only knowing the food that they go and get is available in our communities, that's how they've been raised. So they're getting more comfortable coming around us.
The Bear League in Homewood agrees the population is stable and estimates 250 bears living in South Lake Tahoe only. They don't think there are more bear encounters, just more on social media. But word of advice, do not feed the bears, okay? All right, thank you so much for spending part of your day with us. If you have something you think we should be looking into, make sure to reach out to me and the team. And remember, strangers are people we just haven't gotten the chance to meet yet, so take the time to get to know someone. Have a great night, and I'll see you later. Hey, it's Alex. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. The To The Point team and I love hearing from you, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. And don't forget, you can always email me and the team at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send us a text message at 916-321-3310.